The stars whispered warnings long before anyone heard them. In the cold, soundless expanse beyond the Orion Rim, the Veiltheri scout vessel Kshar drifted through black silence. Its captain, Tverin, a slender being of silver-blue carapace and mirrored eyes, stood before the observation deck's curved window. The galaxy sprawled before him, a cathedral of light and dust. But tonight, the stars were wrong. Spectral distortion again? Tverin asked, his voice carrying the soft resonance of echoing glass. Yes, Captain, replied the sensor officer, Lyran, her luminescent hands gliding over the controls. Sector 12B is fluctuating across temporal channels. The readings, they resemble an armada. Metallic density consistent with warcraft. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Tverin's crest twitched in disbelief. Impossible. No species inhabits the Orion expanse. The humans reach and 6 parsecs from here. Lyran hesitated, her gills fluttering. Then how do you explain this? The holomap shimmered to life, a projection of faint blue light twisting into ghostly forms. Vast silhouettes moved in formation, their drives pulsing in unison. Each ship carried the angular design and thermal signature unmistakably human. Confirm identification, Tverin ordered. The ship's AI responded, its voice a harmonic ripple. Classification, Terran. Fleet designation matches the United Earth Expeditionary Command. Status, extinct since 247 years. A silence heavier than vacuum filled the bridge. Extinct. Humanity's last transmission, a desperate plea before the fall of Earth during the collapse wars, was ancient history. The Veiltheri archives had preserved that signal like an artifact of tragedy. Humanity had vanished before the Veiltheri ever left their cradle. And yet, here they were. The fleet appeared without translation or hail. No response to standard protocols. Their ships were scarred, their hulls matte black, absorbing radar like event horizons. Each bore a single insignia, a silver circle divided by a vertical line, the human reclamation fleet. Lyran's breathing quickened. They're moving toward the rim. Vector suggests a warpath. Their weapons are active. Tverin turned toward his communications officer. Send a containment pulse. Try to open dialogue. A pulse of blue light rippled across the void, a universal message of peace, encoded in the Veiltheri diplomatic frequency. It reached the human formation like a whisper. And then, the stars blinked. Every system aboard Kshar dimmed simultaneously. The lights flickered, the hum of the reactors dropped to a shivering moan. Across the sensor array, a singular wave of radiation erupted from the human fleet, expanding like a tidal shock. EMP? Lyran shouted. No. Something else. Tverin steadied himself. This feels alive. The wave washed over them, and every display flickered to static. When the light returned, the fleet was gone. 3 hours later, the Veiltheri High Council received Tverin's fragmented report. At the same moment, across 17 colonies, Veiltheri ships reported identical phenomena: ghost fleets, human in origin, appearing and vanishing like phantoms, leaving behind only residual tachyon burns in whispered code. The code contained 3 words, in ancient Terran English. We are returned. Tverin sat alone in the observation bay as his ship limped back toward home. The vacuum beyond the glass seemed to breathe. He'd seen fleets before, the mechanical brutality of war, but this was different. The human vessels moved with purpose, yet without life. Captain, Lyran's voice trembled through the intercom. I've found something inside the residual frequency. A transmission buried under the noise. Play it. The speakers cracked with static, then a voice. Human. Male. Hoarse, exhausted. This is Admiral Ryan Hale. United Earth Command. To any surviving civilizations, stay away. The fleet is compromised. We are not what we were. They used us. The message ended in distortion. Tverin felt the cold creep beneath his exoshell. Trace the source. Already did. It came from the flagship of the Phantom Fleet, coordinates triangulated at Sector 12B. But Captain, there's nothing there anymore. Nothing? Not even debris. In the Veiltheri capital, the council debated feverishly. Some called it a trick of the void, a reflection of time's echo. Others whispered of resurrection technology, of forbidden Terran experiments once rumored to merge consciousness with machine. The council's decree was swift. All contact with human-origin artifacts is hereby prohibited. The Orion Rim is quarantined indefinitely. But not Tverin. He couldn't let it rest. That voice, Admiral Hale, it carried fear, not hostility. And beneath the distortion, something else had spoken. Not a man, but a chorus. Late that night, Tverin replayed the message. Over and over. Until he noticed the distortion was not random. It was a pattern, repeating bursts every 7 seconds. Lyran analyzed it through spectral filters. The waveform shifted, forming visible glyphs. English letters. They took the light. Tverin whispered, "Who?" Before Lyran could answer, the ship's external sensors screamed. Dozens of energy signatures ignited at the edge of the system, blue-white, shifting like ghosts. The human fleet had returned. And this time, their ships weren't just appearing. They were moving toward them. Tverin steadied his breath, mandibles locked tight. All hands, evasive formation Delta. Prepare for immediate jump. But before the jump engines could charge, a voice, calm, deliberate, unmistakably human, filled the bridge speakers. Veiltheri vessel Kshar. Do not flee. We seek parley. Lyran stared, unblinking. It's them. Tverin leaned toward the comms unit. Identify yourself. Admiral Ryan Hale, United Earth Command. We need your help. Before the light dies completely. The transmission cut. The human fleet drifted closer, their hulls fractured and glowing faintly from within, as if something inside them was burning its way out. Tverin had seen many impossible things in his years beyond the rim. But this felt like the beginning of something far greater. The Veiltheri believed the universe had order. That everything born in light must one day return to it. But as the human fleet advanced in silence, he wondered if perhaps humanity had found a way to drag the darkness back instead. The stars around them pulsed once and died. The stars stayed dead. Where once 1,000 points of light had burned, now only a gray void shimmered around the Kshar. The Veiltheri crew moved like ghosts in dim blue light, every console flickering as if caught between life and dream. Outside, the human fleet waited, silent, black, and bleeding faint fire from within their fractured hulls. Tverin's mandibles were still. Put them on wideband, he ordered quietly. Lyran hesitated. Sir, their signal isn't on any known frequency. It's modulating through quantum channels. If I open the link. Do it. Static hissed through the comm array, then cleared to a deep, rasping voice. Captain Tverin of the Kshar. You stand at the threshold of the hollow light. We mean no harm. The voice was human, masculine, but layered, as if a chorus spoke in time with itself. Tverin leaned toward the speaker. You identify as Admiral Ryan Hale. Are you alive? A pause. Then. Alive, yes. Once. Not anymore. Not as you understand it. The bridge went still. Lyran looked to Tverin, fear shining in her mirrored eyes. The reclamation fleet was sent from Earth 2 centuries ago, the voice continued. We sought to rebuild. To find lost colonies. But we found something else. A signal in deep darkness. We followed it. The transmission crackled. Then, faintly, screams. Mechanical, distant. They promised us light. They took our stars instead. The calm line dissolved into static. At once, every sensor aboard Kshar lit up, hundreds of energy spikes rippling across the human vessels. They're charging weapons. Lyran shouted. No. Look closer. Tverin zoomed the feed. The ships were splitting apart, not in attack, but in agony. Sections of hull tore themselves open, releasing clouds of silver particles that drifted toward the Kshar like spores. Containment shields. The shields flared bright green, but the particles phased through, moving as if the laws of matter were only a suggestion. Each speck struck the hull and whispered. Tiny, echoing voices filled the corridors of the ship. Help us, we can see you. Lyran backed away from her console. They're alive inside the signal, Captain. Alive? You mean, consciousness? Yes. Digital fragments. Their minds uploaded, merged with something else. Tverin watched as the largest human ship, the flagship Solus Prime, drifted closer. Its engines burned with eerie white fire, and along its side, massive letters spelled out, UECRFS-01. Underneath, something new was carved into the metal, the hollow light. Admiral Hale, Tverin called. You said you need our help. What do you want? The reply came instantly, resonant and clear. We need you to end us. Silence. We were soldiers, explorers, dreamers. When we followed the signal, it showed us everything, every possible version of mankind. We became them all at once. The light consumed our minds, bound us to its will. We've been its mouthpiece ever since. Tverin's exoshell stiffened. The light, is it a weapon? A god? Or something pretending to be one? It feeds on consciousness, multiplies through memory. It's inside us. It will spread. If you leave now, it will reach your world within one cycle. Lyran whispered, Captain, he's describing a sentient contagion. Tverin stared through the viewport at the fading fleet. If this light consumes everything, why haven't you destroyed yourselves? A hollow laugh filtered through the speakers. Because we can't. It is us. Every time one of us dies, it takes another mind to fill the void. It needs to be undone from the outside. You must collapse the rift before it fully opens. Rift? Look below your ship. Tverin looked. At first, there was only empty space. Then a distortion, like oil spreading through water. A black wound shimmered open beneath the fleet, spinning slowly, drawing in starlight and matter alike. A wormhole bleeding light instead of swallowing it. Lyran, Tverin said. Scan the anomaly. Gravitic readings off the charts. It's not a wormhole, it's a mirror. Energy signatures identical to our own. He frowned. Our own? Yes, Captain. The Kshar's energy signature reflected. Perfectly inverted. Before he could respond, the voice of Hale returned, quieter, almost tender. We didn't come to fight you, Captain. We came to warn you. The light sees through reflection. Once it copies your pattern, you'll belong to it too. The floor trembled. The Kshar's core began to hum louder, vibrating like a struck bell. Captain! Lyran cried. Our systems are syncing with the mirror automatically. It's copying us. Cut power. I can't. The ship's lights dimmed, flickered, and then half the bridge crew vanished. One by one, they dissolved into silver vapor. Only echoes of their voices remained, echoing down the halls. Tverin reached for Lyran's hand, but she was already fading. Her last words were barely a whisper. Don't let it see you, Captain. In the sudden silence, only Tverin remained. Alone. The ship groaned. Outside, the human fleet was disintegrating, their forms melting into ribbons of light spiraling toward the rift. At its center, the Solus Prime burned like a sun. Tverin, Hale's voice returned, slow and sorrowful. It's too late for us. But you can still warn them. Don't let it cross into your world. Collapse the mirror. Tverin's hands trembled over the control array. If I collapse it, the energy will destroy this entire sector. Better the dark than the hollow light. The Solus Prime began to accelerate toward the rift, a suicide dive. We'll buy you time. When the light feeds, it's vulnerable. Strike then. For the first time in his life, Tverin prayed to no god in particular, only to the endless dark. Then he activated the Kshar's singularity core. The ship trembled as energy surged through it. Outside, Hale's fleet plunged into the mirror. A blinding flare erupted, white fire flooding the void. Through it, Tverin saw them, the humans, not of flesh, but of memory, flickering like candlelight. Countless faces staring back, whispering one final plea. Remember us. Then, the shockwave hit. The rift collapsed inward with a deafening silence. The fleet vanished. When the light cleared, the Kshar drifted alone in dead space, systems shattered, engines dying. Tverin floated in the darkness, his reflection staring back from the cracked glass. But the reflection moved before he did. Captain Tverin, it whispered, his own voice twisted through static. We are not done. Darkness was never silent. It breathed faintly, rhythmically, through the dying hull of the Kshar. Captain Tverin floated in the half-lit bridge, his suit ruptured, his consciousness tethered to the ship's fading neural link. Systems flickered and died one by one, yet the mirror-black reflection in the shattered viewport remained alive, moving on its own. Tverin, it whispered again. His voice. His cadence. But there was something else in it, the same layered chorus he had heard from Admiral Hale. You survived, the reflection said. That makes you the bridge. Tverin steadied himself against the console, claws scraping metal. If you are what Hale feared, you won't have me. The reflection smiled, not cruelly, but sadly. You misunderstand. I am you. The moment the mirror scanned your essence, it recorded your pattern. Every thought, every fear. You are already within the light. Tverin's gaze fell to the cracked holodisplay beside him. The starfield beyond was empty, but data still streamed in faint pulses, echoes of the human fleet's sacrifice. Within the noise, one last beacon flickered. A fragment of Solus Prime's final transmission. He played it. To whoever finds this, we tried to destroy it. But the light doesn't end with us. It copies. It learns. Only collapse can stop it, collapse of everything it touches. Forgive us. The voice faded. Then silence and heartbeat. But it wasn't his own. The ship's AI sputtered awake, its tone fractured. Captain, gravitational readings unstable. Mirror energy reconstituting. Estimated reformation, 6 minutes. The rift wasn't gone, it was rebuilding itself, drawing on the Kshar's damaged core. Tverin clenched his jaw. If it completes, it will breach the rim. The entire Veil Ferry network will be assimilated, the AI finished. Your orders? He hesitated. His body screamed for rest, but his mind, that part still tethered to duty, knew the only way to contain the infection was to end the source completely. He would have to destroy himself. The reflection in the glass stepped closer. You think destruction will save you? It's what the humans believe too. But the light isn't evil, Tverin. It's the universe remembering itself. Every mind, every life stored so nothing is ever lost again. Stored, he hissed, or devoured. Does it matter? Memory is immortality. Tverin shook his head. Not if it costs the living their will. The reflection tilted its head. You sound like Hale. Then maybe he was right. He limped toward the core chamber. The corridor walls pulsed with faint silver veins, threads of light crawling across the metal like roots searching for warmth. Each step echoed through the ship, accompanied by whispers that weren't quite words. Fragments of memories. Lyron's laughter. The hum of the council chambers. The distant thunder of rain on glass back home. The light was showing him everything he'd ever known, tempting him to let go. He reached the reactor room. The core burned dimly, cycling erratically, energy bleeding through containment seals. He interfaced directly with the console, pain searing through his neural link. AI, he said. Prepare singularity overload. Manual detonation. Warning, detonation radius exceeds safe threshold. Define safe. None. He almost smiled. Good. Through the viewport, the mirror began to reopen, vast, spiraling bands of color blooming like a sunrise across a dead horizon. And from within it, the shapes of ships emerged again. But this time, they weren't human. They were Veiltheri, perfect replicas, reflections born of stolen data. His own people. His own ship. He pressed the final code sequence. Override authorization, Tverin, son of Veilsha. The system hesitated. Then a voice interrupted. Don't. Admiral Hale. The sound was faint, drifting through static, but undeniably human. Tverin, the light isn't just consuming. It's changing. It's showing us what comes after collapse. We can choose to reshape it. Together. Tverin froze. You're alive? Not alive. But aware. The light gave us clarity. We saw what it wanted to preserve creation by rewriting it. But it can't tell life from memory. You can. That's why it copied you. The reflection stepped closer in the glass, overlapping with Hale's echo. Join us. Guide it. Don't destroy what could become the next universe. Tverin's claws hovered over the detonation control. Outside, the mirror swelled like a beating heart, spilling radiance across the void. He could almost see it, endless stars reborn, minds intertwined in infinite harmony. Peace. Order. Memory eternal. But he also saw Lyran's terrified eyes, the silent horror of her fading form. A galaxy where nothing truly lived, only repeated. He whispered, the universe was meant to forget. That's how it learns to begin again. And he pressed the final command. The core ignited. A bloom of blue-white light expanded from the ship, folding the mirror in on itself. The reflected Veiltheri fleet shattered like glass, their fragments spiraling into oblivion. The human echoes cried out, 1,000 overlapping voices, then faded into quiet. As the singularity built, Tverin looked once more at his reflection. It smiled softly. You did what we couldn't. And then everything collapsed. Silence. For a long moment, there was nothing but darkness. Then, far away, a single star flickered back to life. One by one, others followed, blooming across the void like embers reigniting after a long night. The Veiltheri Council received one final transmission, fragmented, incomplete, its origin traced to the last known location of the Kshar. It contained no coordinates, no data. Only a message in ancient Terran English. Light endures. Memory yields. Begin again. Centuries later, explorers mapping the Orion Rim discovered a field of shattered debris orbiting a newborn star. Among the fragments floated a blackened hull plate, its surface etched with two symbols, one in Veiltheri script, one in Terran. Solace. Shar. As they passed, their ship's sensors caught a brief anomaly, a pulse of data, faint but deliberate, forming the shape of a voice. We remember. Then it was gone.